Welcome back to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes, and tonight I'm joined by Kev McCloskey all the way from Hungary, where we'll be talking about Hearts versus Celtic. And as we sit, Kev, at the top of the table, we are on the same points as second placed Aberdeen, who have played a game more. And we are 8 points ahead of Rangers, who drew at Ibrox against fourth place Dundee United this afternoon. Couldn't set it up any better, could we?
No, you could not. No. Carlsberg doesn't do Saturdays, as the saying goes. But if they did, at 7:15 in the afternoon in the UK, they wouldn't look much different to this one. This is exactly what we want for a Saturday evening's entertainment. Great chance to open up a lead at the top of the table for the first time, to kind of, don't want to speak too soon in the season, but really bury the team from the other side of the city and any hopes that they've got. And to say it as well, it comes off the back of a very good week for Acsom, Paul, and yourself, winning yet another award. Congratulations to yourself for that, and obviously to the rest of the team as well, because it's a massive team effort. Everyone puts a lot of time, commitment into this. So I've not really had a chance to talk about that or acknowledge it anywhere, so I'll do it now and just say it's another wonderful achievement for everyone.
Thank you very much, Kev. But you're right, it is. It's the team, it's the community that's obviously tuning in right now, part of the audience tonight. And you know, you get these
audience in the background there, if you can see.
The audience is growing, mate. It's growing. We have a big audience in Hungary of 2 at the moment, maybe 3 if Perlo joins us. And you'd see the occasional face and name popping up, but then you see the regulars, and I can see quite a few of them in there. Jungle Line, Paddy Lavery. They're all in there. They're all getting involved. James Cormack, who supports the channel on a regular basis as well. And it's a community, a wee hub where we can all come together and talk about Celtic. And because we are Celtic fanatics, you know, we don't have an agenda. We don't have a hierarchy where people saying you can and can't say this or that. We can also keep one eye on the opposition, because that's what football fans have done. I looked at a brilliant picture, one of my favourite Celtic images, of Bertie Auld. Obviously, during the week, it was his anniversary, right? And there's a tremendous picture of him, beautifully coloured image. And he's taken a corner, and he's just got that look about him, right? So the green and white hoops are resplendent. It's a sunny day. The hair is waxed, probably Brill cream, right? That was the gel of the day. Brill cream, waxed beautifully back. He looks like a gangster. Bertie Auld always looked like a gangster. But he's taking this corner kick, and you're looking at the perfectly dressed fans behind him in the corner of the stadium, all suited up, beautiful caps, a whole lot, and one of them standing with his transistor radio, because we have always been interested in what's happening across the city. And tonight, they've dropped another few points. There's quite a few angry bears. We're going to be concentrating on Celtic getting the job done tonight. Kev, all week we've been looking at Hearts and saying, you know what, they're second bottom of the league. They've already changed their manager. But this isn't an easy game. Never is. Never seems to be an easy game at Tynecastle, does it?
No, it never is. It's one of those grounds that I think there was a game last season actually that we were doing, and I was more up to date on my stats about it, but it was a venue that we've actually been fairly successful at over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever you want to go back. But there's always a feeling when you go there that you're going to get a difficult game, because historically we have had some really tight matches, and even through that run, it was 1-0 wins, 2-0 wins, something like that. You know, we weren't always steamrolling in them, although there was a few 4 or 5-0 wins in as well. But it's a difficult venue. You know, it's what's the capacity? About 18,000. It's right close to the pitch as well, which gives you that cauldron atmosphere. Hearts are always up for it. I mean, they don't like us. They're quite proud of that, and why should they? I suppose, you know, they try and make it as difficult and as awkward as they possibly can. So it's always one of those games that when it comes up in the fixture list, I think you look forward to it, knowing it's going to be a difficult game, and knowing what's happened in the 2 other big games this afternoon as well. This is the second best venue that you'd want to be playing at to get a chance to go clear at the top. Home's obviously number 1, but if we could put another marker down today with a convincing win, just get the 3 points, open up that lead. Tynecastle's a lovely venue to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think back to when would I have the first time I was in Tynecastle was the late 80s, And as a fan going there, obviously, you see the change in terms of it going all-seater. Kev, losing every stadium, I feel, lost something, lost a bit of its soul when it went all-seater. But Tynecastle, and again, listen, I'm no fan of Hearts, no fan of the chants, no fan of any of that nonsense, right? Toxic. But in terms of a stadium, even ex-Celtic players talk about it being one of the favourite stadiums away from home to go and play because of that atmosphere. As you say, the crowd are right on top of you. And I don't know actually why. I think it's due to the commuter force and all that kind of stuff. But where I live, there are loads upon loads of Jambos. I'm talking the place is swarming with Jambos, Kev. So they are a well-supported club. They've been underachieving. They're one of the teams that are constantly criticised, along with Hibs, up until this season, along with Aberdeen, Dundee United, probably Dunfermline, probably Falkirk, teams who should be doing better, right? And they've underachieved for a number of seasons. Hearts are in that category. Since Critchley came in, they seem to have done slightly better. I don't think they'll finish second bottom, Kev. I think they will go on a run. They will climb up that table. I hope it doesn't happen tonight. Now, someone in the comment section was saying, Cathal, Quinn, there you are. Anyone got a team sheet? Well, we do. So let's bring it up. Let's bring Celtic's team sheet up first because that's the most important one. And we'll get rid of that there and we'll get rid of that. And here's the team. Captained, of course, by Callum McGregor. Callum McGregor, who is just a perennial winner at Celtic. You know, if you look at his record, Kev, since he came into the football club, only one season he has not won the league. What an incredible record. And the news, obviously, over the last couple of days, about two of the guys in this team having penned new deals. So we'll have a wee chat about that as well. Schmeichel starts in goals after a couple of good performances for Denmark during the international break. We've got Alistair Johnston, just penned a new deal, keeping up with Celtic, hopefully, until 2029. A lot of people think that he's captain material, Kev, and he has worn the captain's armband, for a cameo appearance as a captain, but he has worn that armband. I'm just looking at the date, 2029, thinking to myself, wow, aren't we getting old when contracts are taking you almost up to 2030? At left back, Greg Taylor, the Celtic official site announced it as Bailly earlier on, but they've corrected it. It's Greg Taylor. And the two centre-halves are, of course, the American boys, Team America, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty. And I said this during the week, if anyone wasn't tuning in, I found myself at a table down in London for the awards alongside officials from Luton Town Football Club. And, you know, as you do, you look for connections, Kev, you look for Luton Town and Celtic ex-players, etc. And the ones that came to my mind instantly were people like Paul Elliott, for example, ex-Luton Town player John Hartson, who started his career at Luton. And the Luton Town representative was waxing lyrical about our very own Cameron Carter-Vickers. The fans loved him down there, and they just couldn't afford them because obviously it would have taken a big transfer fee even then to prize him away from Tottenham Hotspur, whose stadium we were in. Left back, as I say, Taylor. The midfield three, this was a topic of conversation during the week. No Luke McCowan, but we do have Callum McGregor, Arnie Engels and Rio Hatate. Bernardo is on the bench. McCowan is on the bench. The aforementioned Bailly is on the bench. And then up top, we've got the man of the moment, Nicholas Kuhn, on the right, Maeda on the left, he'll go through the middle. The rest of the subs are Sinisalo, Scales, Ida, Yang, Forrest and Ralston. And on the bench, we've got Jamesy Forrest having penned a new deal as well. What do you make of the starting 11, Kev?
I think it's the strongest starting 11 we've got at the moment. I'm very happy with that going into this game. I don't think there's for me there's no real question marks over anyone that's starting that game. I know you've mentioned there that Bailly was in the official team sheet or whatever it was in the Celtic website over Taylor, but for me, I think this is a game that if Taylor's fit, Taylor starts. It's because of the venue and the opposition and what Taylor brings. I look at that midfield. Engels, Hatate, Callum. I think it's a very, very strong midfield. You've got everything in that you need. You can build a case for somebody like McCowan or Bernardo that potentially they should get a run of games, get a start every now and again. But for me, I just look at that midfield just now and think all three of them are playing pretty well. So it's very strong. And then up front, it's just a fighting in front three. Kyogo for me is still the best centre forward in Scottish football. Maeda does things that no one else does in world football at times with the work rate that he puts in. And Nicholas Kuhn on his goal and assist every 54 minutes or something like that must be leading the charts in world football as well. So it's a very, very strong team. I'm pretty happy with that one going into this game. But also look at the bench. There is strength and depth there as well. If we need it, we've got it there.
Yeah, and that's always the thing about the bench. And I think Brendan Rodgers was the first manager at Celtic that I heard talking about finishing the game as strong as you start it in terms of the starting 11. So, what he was meaning by that is he picks a starting 11, but he's also picking a finishing 11, if you like, and he's got that in mind at all times. The changes could be made. I'm looking at the bench at the moment. I want to talk a wee bit about Jamesy Forrest to start off. I found it very interesting during the week, Kevin, that Brendan Rodgers pinpointed Jamesy Forrest, Anthony Ralston, Stephen Welsh, and of course Callum McGregor. He says that McGregor, Ralston, and Forrest set the standard at Celtic, but it was in relation to a bit of criticism Celtic have been getting around youth development. Rodgers, I'm not saying that he was defensive because he had plenty in his armoury to throw, in his artillery to throw back at us and say, listen, I've been dealing with youth players for 15 years before becoming a coach myself. If they're good enough, they'll play. And they were the guys that set the standard. And one of those names, Jamesy Forrest, has signed a new deal. It's incredible to think that by the time Jamesy Forrest finishes his Celtic career, he will have made it beyond 500 appearances, 100 goals, 100 assists. And the chances are he will have won more honours than any other Celt in the history of the football club. Cannot be underestimated, his contribution. I know he's not a high-profile type of player, Kev, doesn't do the socials, doesn't do all that nonsense, but for me, he's a backbone. He's part of a backbone, a spine, a nucleus within this team that I don't even think you can quantify the importance of it.
Yeah. So, James Forrest, if you were to sell him on the market just now, for his ability, you'd take $1 million, a couple of million for him and you'd think it's good money. But Jamesy Forrest, for everything else that he brings to Celtic Football Club, you just cannot afford to sell him because you can't replace that. But he's been here, is it 16 years, 14, 15 years, something like that? By the time he leaves, it might be 16. It's an incredible achievement. You don't get that longevity at a club like Celtic unless you've got something about you. And I know he's had his detractors over the years, and then for a certain spell, I was one of them because I felt he had so much potential and was going to underperform and not reach it. But like you say, when he retires, there's every chance he's going to retire as our most decorated player. And you look at the guys that played for Celtic throughout our history, and Jamesy Forrest is going to come out on top of them. The likes of Billy McNeill, all the Lisbon Lions, Kenny Dalglish, obviously didn't win that much in comparison. Henrik, who was here for 7 years, and I mean, Jamesy Forrest will blow a lot of them out the water when it comes to his honours, and you get that for a reason. He's a top professional, and every time that people have written him off, he's done something. He's changed. He's adapted his game a little bit. He's come back a better player, and we saw at points last season, as I say, when he was written off, Jamesy was the boy that Brendan turned to in big games. He dug us out of a hole, and he continues to do it right now. So just got lots of admiration for him, actually. That's the word to use for him. Got lots of admiration for the career that he's had and the fact that he's still producing at a very high level just now.
If he is indeed part of the League Cup squad and we win that trophy, then, the only players that he's going to be behind are Bobby Lennox, Billy McNeill, and Scott Brown. In fact, he's going to leapfrog Scott Brown. He's going to leapfrog Bruni if he gets a medal on the 15th of December. So Bobby Lennox, Billy McNeill, Jamesy Forrest, Scott Brown, and then Callum McGregor, incidentally, comes after those guys, followed by...
Callum will not be far behind, and he'll be hot in the heels. So by the time he goes, he could be the most decorated player.
Yeah, it's incredible. And, there really, for me, there needs to be that nucleus of the heartbeat of Celtic Football Club, those with not only a Celtic state of mind, but they've come through the ranks and they've got it. They're part of the fabric of the football club. And I think that whether or not you're in the starting 11 or on the bench, because there's a turnover of players coming and going at a club like Celtic, that you need people almost to educate the newcomers about the standards, Kev, about what the expectations are. We are a highly demanding fan base, and that's fine. I've always been comfortable with that. People call it entitlement. I don't see it like that. I just think that the demands are high. And even if it's the conduct of a player, I think the fans hold them really to a high standard. And these players were pointed out and singled out, I feel, by Brendan Rodgers, because he was saying that these guys live and breathe what Celtic's all about, and all the new guys coming in can learn from them. And there's obviously new players in the team today, and one of them is, of course, Arne Engels. I think when everybody's fit, and I know when we're done football, when you've got big squads, Kev, people say there's no such thing as a strongest starting 11. It depends game to game. You don't play the same starting 11 against Ross County as you do against Bruges. I get all that. But if I was to be asked, pick your strongest start 11, Arne Engels is in it, Kev, and he starts tonight. Big pressure on the boy, big pressure, as Lawrence Shanklin said earlier on this season. What do you make of his campaign so far?
I think he's had a pretty good campaign. To go back to the point on Brendan as well, sorry, just before we talk about Arne Engels, what Brendan was saying at the press conference it's typical of him, the man that he is. In that sense, he's very calculated in what he says. So he was picking out those players, and he even dropped in Dane Murray, which was the one I wanted to mention. I thought that was quite a telling one. Perhaps he mentions him, and he's leaving out some of the other younger boys that are there just now, and it's a nod to them to say that these are the examples you need to follow. And actually, one of them is this boy here, is Dane Murray. So he might be ahead of you. So knuckle down, do what he's doing, come back, show the determination that he's shown coming back from injury, and there is a pathway, but they must be good enough and they must have all those attributes. But yeah, to pick up on Arne Engels, I think he's had a pretty good season for us so far. I think there's massive expectation on him because he comes with an £11 million price tag and becomes a record signing. So, you get the football manager era of football supporter, the FIFA player that expects him. He's going to get a goal and assist every game. He's not Nicholas Kuhn levels. But that's the expectation that's there, that he'll do those things and he'll run and boss games. He's 20 years old. He's settling into life in a new country and a new club. There's a lot of those off-the-field things that will affect him. He's a young man. You can't expect him just to drop into a new life and kick on straight away. But the fact that he got a couple of early goals, the fact that he could live up to the big pressure, as you said, that Lawrence Shanklin was shouting at him, I think shows he's got nerve, he's got steel, he believes in himself. He's had a couple of poor games, but that happens from time to time. What he's done though in the last couple of games for me is shown the character to recover from that and regain the form. And I think for me, he is settling in fine. He'll learn a lot by playing alongside Callum McGregor, and he will also learn to adapt his game playing next to Rio or Bernardo, because the two of them have different styles. So for me, I think he's done pretty well. I have no hesitations in listing him as a starter in my midfield week in, week out at the moment. He's done nothing for me to deserve not being there.
When you're talking about Hatate, my biggest concern about the Japanese contingent is the travel. Obviously, there's been players who have gone and played games of football, and there's been travel involved. But in relation to what they'd have been doing anyway for the club, there may well have been travel involved in that. In any case, if there's even European travel, if you get the Champions League, fixture drop in midweek. So it's the Japanese contingent and the American boys. Obviously, Carter Vickers wasn't part of the most recent squad, and it's guys like that, and Alistair Johnston when he's playing for Canada. I have concerns about that. And when it's Hatate, Maeda, and Kyogo, only one of those three are getting any kind of minutes to write home about, Kev. And it's something that I spoke about with Liam. Liam being really, in and about the Japanese game. He knows what the press are saying over there. He can form an opinion on the Japanese international manager because he's reading about him on a day-to-day basis, if you like, and he's watching him very closely. I don't think it's a very healthy situation to be in. if you're a player travelling all the way around the world, and then not getting a kick of the ball, not getting the minutes that you would want to get, and then coming back for your bread and butter, which is your paid employment at club level, and perhaps feeling that. Now, I know that there's this whole thing about, it's not as if they're travelling cattle clash like you and me. They're pandered to and all this kind of stuff, right? I get that. But it's bound to take it out of them. And in particular, if you don't get the payoff, because hard work's about payoff. Everything you do, there's something at the end of that. You know, if you work all week, you get paid. If you train all week, you get a game of football. They're not even getting that, and now they're coming back. Do you think it's going to have a demoralising effect, particularly on Kyogo, because he's so desperate to be a success at international level, and it looks as though he's kind of being mistreated in many ways. Maybe I've got the green tinted glasses on at the moment, Kev, and I'm hoping it doesn't affect the performances at club level.
Yeah, but at the same time, you wouldn't be surprised if it did, because there's the saying as well: you never see a tired team that's winning. So if you're playing 2 or 3 games a week, but you're winning those 2 or 3 games a week, you can do that for the full season, and no one will complain of tiredness. But you get it when things aren't going your way. And for somebody like Kyogo, who's desperate to play for his country, you can see it means a lot to him if he gets a call up. It's a major personal honour and achievement for him. To then fly halfway around the world to sit on the bench for 2 sets of 90 minutes and then fly back again, having contributed nothing, it must be demoralising. You must wonder why you're doing it. I don't think he's the type of character, from what you see of him in, like, on the pitch and in socials and whatnot. I don't think he'd be the type that would give up wanting to play for his country. That will always make himself available. But it must be demoralising. It must get you, and then he must come back here feeling a little bit down and depressed about it. And maybe there will become a time when he thinks, I don't necessarily want to leave Celtic, but I want to play for Japan a little bit more. So do I need to look for another option? Now, that may be something, but again, if you listen to Liam, he'll tell you that the manager, whose name I forget, sorry, the Japanese coach, but he plays a certain system where he's only got the one up front, I think, and it's a certain type of striker that he wants, and it's not Kyogo. So Kyogo could move anywhere, play for any other team. Until the national team coach changes, his chances of being a regular starter are going to be fairly limited. So that doesn't change for him, and I think that must be kind of the most demoralising thing. But yeah, we'll try and put a more positive look in it and say, from the green tinted perspective, he may have flown halfway around the world and whatnot, but he didn't play. He should come back fairly fresh. There's no injury issues with him, and maybe you can turn that disappointment of not playing for the national team into a motivator again for playing for your club team, and you go out and put in a performance, gets a couple of goals today, an assist or two, man of the match performance, and really sends a signal back to the national team manager saying this is what you're missing out on. And Celtic are the ones that become the beneficiaries.
Yeah, I mean, that did cross my mind in relation to the lack of game time being part of the problem for Moriyasu, and I only know that's his name because Liam doesn't like him and talks about that on a regular basis. But yes, I'm glad they're all in the starting 11 tonight. I'm going to bring in some of the comments coming through from all over the world, which always blows my mind and will continue to do so. There's over 1,000 people tuning in tonight for the pre-match. It's a big one. It's Saturday night. It's under the lights. Not ideal, I don't think, for your paying punter, for example. And it's not ideal for Celtic fans that there are so few tickets available. We were seeing pictures coming in from some of the Acsom contributors earlier on, Kev, about Celtic fans having to buy Hearts hospitality packages just to get to the game. Stephen Broadley tuning in from the USA. Thanks for tuning in. I know we do have a lot of American Celtic fans who tune in, and it's really great to see you popping in. These players will be up for this tonight. It should be a good game, and Hearts can be tricky for us. We will have enough to demolish them. I think we do have enough. Absolutely. Brian Kelly, Celtic on the telly, beers in the fridge. Sounds like the first line of a song. I don't know if you want to give us the second one, Kev. James Cormack, no room for complacency
Don't
today.
want to me sing that one, so no.
Maybe after the game. We've seen the results. I feel like Hearts are going to get torn apart. Predicted 3-0 yesterday. A win and a clean sheet, even by 1, is fine. I mean, 3-0 would be, for me, a comprehensive victory tonight. Cathal Quinn, you're back in. Oh, sorry. has anyone got the team sheet? Yes, we do. And we also have the Hearts one. So let's bring that up just now. It's a good opportunity to bring that up. Almost seamless. And there's the Hearts starting at 11. We've got Craig Gordon in goals. The evergreen Craig Gordon. 42 years of age. I think he's played about 700 club games. I'm not quite sure if he'll manage to get 100 international caps. But, you're bearing in mind the fact he was out the game for 2 years before Celtic bought him. And then he had that horrendous double leg break. One of the ones you just didn't want to look at. It was that bad, when somebody's legs pointing the wrong way. And he's come back. So fair play. But, I want you to get hammered tonight, Craig. Kent, Oyegoke, Beningame, Shanklin, the captain, not as prolific this season as he has been. Devlin, Rose, Spittle, Forrest, Boateng, and Penrice. Of course, Alan Forrest is James's brother. That's the starting 11, and you look at that, and you look at guys like Shanklin, for example. Kev, he's the obvious one, but he's not having a great season. But again, a wee bit like Hearts, can't write him off. You just cannot write these guys off.
No, definitely not. There was one of the stats I'd seen earlier on about him, just in terms of shots at goal, shots on target this season. He said the exact same as he had at this point last season. So he's still getting in there. In the goal scoring positions, he's just not been as lethal and as deadly in front of goal as he was previously. Shanklin's a decent striker, give him chances and he normally does put them away. So we'd obviously like to keep him as quiet as we can tonight. But he's not been in good form this season, and obviously if he's not in good form, Hearts suffer because he is the main goal threat. If you look through the rest of the team, there's a lot of, I'm going to say, if they're not big and strong lads, then they've got wee strong guys in there like Cammy Devlin, who just like to put themselves about and cause mischief. I don't see there being very many good footballers in that team, but they are a team that make life difficult for you because of that. The workmanlike way that they go about the game. It's about getting stuck in and making it difficult for footballers to play football at times. But that saying, Alan Forrest can be a threat. Blair Spittle can be a threat. We've seen that last season that Motherwell he scored against us for them. So they've got certain dangers about them. But again, I'll always look at the Celtic team over and above any other team. And I just think if we play the style of football that we know that we can play, if we play a possession game, the high tempo, the pressing that we know we can inflict on teams, then I'm not going to say we should have no issues at all, but we should be looking at walking away with 3 points.
Yeah, Shanklin is one of the guys, and again, every now and again, maybe once a season, I'll get something right, Kev. So I'll keep going on about it. And last season, people were talking about signing him. There was that big discussion. Oh, Shanklin, not Celtic fans, but some in the media, some in the Scottish media were even suggesting he was the best striker in Scotland.
There was something the head between him and Majowski. If you're spending $4 million on a striker from Scotland, which one is it going to be? And some folks were leaning towards Lawrence Shankland, which was bizarre at the time, and now looks just foolish.
Well, my thinking behind it was when I looked at him, right, and I knew that he had kind of come through and he'd got a fairly big move to Aberdeen. I felt he flopped at Aberdeen, and just looking at his stats, he did. He was there for 4 seasons, never established himself, never scored a goal for them. Quite a few loan deals here and there. He scored prolifically in the Championship and in League One for Ayr United. And again, got to sell a decent move to Dundee United. Only had 1 decent season at Dundee United. So I was looking at the fact that in the top flight, he had only scored consistently for Hearts in 2 seasons, because when he was with Dundee United, he was in the Championship. And I was basing it on that. I seen it almost like a flash in the pan. We've seen it so many times in Scottish football. And I'm looking at it thinking, look, listen, he's scored a couple of 100 goals in his career, not all in the top flight. I personally wouldn't have him anywhere near a Celtic jersey, but he's not a player I like playing against. And this is the thing. And there's been players like that down the years that I rate in terms of Scottish football, but, I don't think they're good enough for Celtic. Dougie Arnott, he always scored against us for Motherwell. I wouldn't have had him in a Celtic jersey. Yeah. Shanklin, for me, was that type of player, different style and all the rest of it, different build. But that's the type of player he is for me. He's a nuisance. So we've got 2 centre-halves. I think the pace of Trusty and obviously the composure and the strength of Carter Vickers will be enough. But we need to watch, because things can come down to VAR. Things can come down to bad decisions on the night. And I'm looking for a prediction from you. We've had 3-0 in the comment section. People are now tuning into the game. I can see that, just as the figures drop a wee bit in terms of the audience. So give me your prediction, Kev.
I'm going to go 2-0 Celtic. That's what we'll go with.
2-0 Celtic. Every time before the game, I think to myself, have I predicted this already? I'm not sure I have. I'm not sure I've predicted a score yet, right? So I'm going to say 3-1 Celtic. 3-1 Celtic tonight. And again, because it's something of a mantra for us, if it's nothing each at half-time or even 1-0 to Hearts at half-time, don't panic. I think Celtic will be fine. Yeah, exactly. So let's go to the action. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. At halftime and full time, we will also be joined by Sean Conley. So come back at halftime for a wee chat to see how the first half has gone. All that's left for me to say, Kevin McCluskey, thank you for joining me on A Celtic State of Mind.
Nice one. Cheers, Paul.